पढ़ जाओगे, स्टार्टिंग से पढ़ो, चैप्टर टाइटल।
Chapter 4 Shri Madhavendra Puri's devotional service. In his Amrita Pravaha Bhashya, Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur gives the following summary of the fourth chapter, passing along the path of Chhatra Bhoga and coming to the Vridha Mantreshwara. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu reached the border of Odisha. On his way, he enjoyed transcendental bliss by chanting and begging alms in different villages. In this way, he reached the celebrated village of Remula, where there is a deity of Gopinath. There he narrated the story of Madhavendra Puri as he had heard it from his spiritual master, Ishwar Puri. The narration is as follows. One night, while in Govardhan, Madhavendra Puri dreamed that the Gopal deity was within the forest. The next morning, he invited his neighborhood friends to accompany him to excavate the deity from the jungle. He then established the deity of Sri Gopalji on top of Govardhan Hill with great pomp. Gopala was worshipped and the Annakut festival was observed. This festival was known everywhere and many people from the neighborhood villages came to join. One night, the Gopal deity again appeared to Madhavendra Puri in a dream and asked him to go to Jagannath Puri to collect some sandalwood pulp and smear it on the body of the deity. Having received this order, Madhavendra Puri immediately started for Orissa. Traveling through Bengal, he reached Remula village and there received a pot of condensed milk Shira offered to the deity of Gopinath Ji. This pot of condensed milk was stolen by Gopinath and delivered to Madhavendra Puri. Since then, the Gopinath deity has been known as Shir Chor Gopinath, the deity who stole the pot of condensed milk. After reaching Jagannath Puri, Madhavendra Puri received permission from the king to take out one mound of sandalwood and 20 tolas of camphor. Aided by two men, he brought these things to Remuna. Again he saw in a dream that Gopala at Govardhan Hill desired that very sandalwood to be turned into pulp mixed with camphor and spread over the body of Gopinath Ji. Understanding that would satisfy the Gopal deity of Govardhan. Madhavendra Puri executed the order and returned to Jagannath Puri. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu narrated this story for Lord Nityanand Prabhu and other devotees and praised the pure devotional service of Srila Madhavendra Puri. When he recited some verses composed by Madhavendra Puri, he went into an ecstatic mood. But when he saw that many people who assembled, he checked himself and ate some sweet rice prasadam. Thus, he passed that night. And the next morning, he again started for Jagannath Puri. Next one. I offer my respectful obeisances unto Madhavendra Puri, who was given a pot of sweet rice stolen by Sri Gopinath. Celebrated there after a Shir being placed by Madhavendra Puri's love, Sri Gopala, the deity at Govardhan, appeared to the public vision. Bhaktivinoda Thakur annotates that this Gopal deity was originally installed by Vajra, the great grandson of Krishna. Madhavendra Puri rediscovered Gopala and established him on top of Govardhan Hill. This Gopala deity is still situated at Nathadwara and is under the management of descendants of Vallabhacharya. The worship of the deity is very luxurious, and one who goes there can purchase varieties of prasadam by paying a small price. All glories to Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, all glories to Nityananda Prabhu, all glories to Advaita Prabhu, and all glories to all the devotees of Sri Chaitanya. The Lord went to Jagannath Puri and visited Lord Jagannath's temple. He also met with Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya. All these pastimes have been very elaborately explained by Vrindavan Das Thakur in his book Chaitanya Bhagavat. By nature, all the activities of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu are very wonderful and sweet, and when they are described by Vrindavan Das Thakur, they become like a shower of nectar. Therefore, I very humbly submit that since these incidents have already been nicely described with Sri Vrindavan Das Thakur, I would be very proud to repeat the same thing, and this would not be very good. I do not have such powers. I am therefore presenting only a synopsis of those events already described elaborately by Srila Vrindavan Das Thakur in his Chaitanya Mangal, now known as Chaitanya Bhagavat. Some of the incidents he did not describe elaborately but only summarized, and this I shall try to describe in this book. I thus offer my respectful obeisances unto the lotus feet of Vrindavan Das Thakur. I hope that I will not offend his lotus feet by this action. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu proceeded toward Jagannath Puri with 4 of his devotees, and he chanted the holy name of the Lord, the Hare Krishna Mahamantra, with great eagerness. Each day, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu personally went to a village and collect a great quantity of rice and other grains for the preparation of prasadam. There were many rivers on the way, and each river there was a tax collector. They did not hinder the Lord, however, and he showed them mercy. Finally, he reached the village of Remuna. There is a railway station named Baleshwara, and 5 miles to the west is the village of Remuna. The temple of Shir Chor Gopinath still exists in this village, and within the temple, the Samadhi tomb of Rashikanand Prabhu, the chief disciple of Shyamanand Goswami, can still be found. The deity of Gopinath in the temple of Remuna was very attractive. Lord Chaitanya visited the temple and offered his obeisances with great devotion. When Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu offered his obeisances at the lotus feet of Gopinath deity, the helmet of flowers on the head of Gopinath fell down and landed on the head of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. When the deity's helmet fell upon his head, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu became very pleased, and thus he chanted and danced in various ways with his devotees. All the servants of the deity were struck with wonder due to Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's intense love, his exquisite beauty, and his transcendental qualities. Because of their love for Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, they served him in many ways, and that night the Lord stayed at the temple of Gopinath. The Lord remained there because he was very eager to receive the remnants of sweet rice offered to the Gopinath deity, having heard a narration from his spiritual master, Ishwara Puri, of what had once happened there. That deity was known widely as Khir Chor Gopinath, and Chaitanya Mahaprabhu told his devotee the story of how the deity became so famous. Formerly, the deity had stolen a pot of sweet rice for Madhavendra Puri. Therefore, he became very famous as a lord who stole the sweet rice. Once Sri Madhavendra Puri travelled to Vrindavan, where he came upon the hill known as Govardhan. Madhavendra Puri was almost mad in his ecstasy of love of Godhead, and he did not know whether it was day or night. Sometimes he stood up and sometimes he fell to the ground. He could not discriminate whether he was in a proper place or not. After circumambulated the hill, Sri Madhavendra Puri went to Govind Kund and took his bath. He then sat beneath a tree to take his evening rest. While he was sitting beneath a tree, an unknown cowherd boy came with a pot of milk, placed it before Madhavendra Puri, and smiling addressed him as follows. "Oh Madhavendra Puri, please drink the milk I have brought. Why don't you beg some food to eat? What kind of meditation are you undergoing?" When he saw the beauty of that boy, Madhavendra Puri became very satisfied. Hearing his sweet word, he forgot all hunger and thirst. Madhavendra Puri said, "Who are you? Where do you reside? And how did you know that I was fasting?" The boy replied, "Sir, I am a cowherd boy, and I reside in this village. In my village, no one fasts. In this village, a person can beg food from others and thus eat. Some people drink only milk. But if a person does not ask anyone for food, I supply him all his eatables. The woman who come here to take water saw you, and they supplied me with this milk and sent me to you." The boy continued, "I must go very soon to milk the cows, but I shall return and take back this milk pot from you." Saying this, the boy left the place. Indeed, he suddenly could be seen no more, and Madhavendra Puri's heart was filled with wonder. After drinking the milk, Srila Madhavendra Puri washed the pot and put it aside. He looked over the path, but the boy never returned. Madhavendra Puri could not sleep. He sat and chanted the Hare Krishna Mahamantra, and at the end of night he dozed a little and his external activities stopped. In a dream, Madhavendra Puri saw the very same boy. The boy came before him and holding his hand took him to a bush in the jungle. The boy showed Madhavendra Puri the bush and said, I reside in this bush, and because of this I suffer very much from severe cold, rain showers, winds and scorching heat. Please bring the people of the village and get them to take me out of this bush. They have then situated me nicely on top of the hill. Please construct a temple on top of that hill. The boy continued and install me in that temple. After this, wash me with large quantity of cold water so that my body may be cleansed. For many days I have been observing you and I have been wondering when will Madhavendra Puri come here to serve me. I have accepted your service due to your ecstatic love for me. Thus I shall appear, and by my audience all fallen souls will be delivered. My name is Gopala. I am the lifter of Govardhan Hill. I was installed by Vajra, and here I am the authority. When the Muslim attacked, the priest who was serving me hid me in this bush in the jungle. Then he ran away out of fear of the attack. Since the priest went away, I have been staying in this bush. It is very good that you have come here. Now just remove me with care. After saying this, the boy disappeared. Then Madhavendra Puri woke up and began to consider his dream. Madhavendra Puri began to lament. I saw Lord Krishna directly, but I could not recognize him. Thus he fell down on the ground in ecstatic love. Madhavendra Puri cried for some time, but then he fixed his mind on executing the order of Gopala. Thus he became tranquil. After taking his morning bath, Madhavendra Puri entered the village and assembled all the people. He spoke as follows. The proprietor of this village, Govardhan Dhari, is lying in the bushes. Let us go there and rescue him for that place. The bushes are very dense and will not be able to enter the jungle. Therefore, they take choppers and sprays to clear the way. After hearing this, all the people accompanied Madhavendra Puri with great pleasure. According to his directions, they cut down bushes, cleared a path and entered the jungle. When they saw the deity covered with dirt and grass, they were all struck with wonder and pleasure. After they had cleansed the body of the deity, some of them said, the deity is very heavy. No single person can move him. Since the deity was very heavy, some of the stronger men assembled to carry him to the top of the hill. Madhavendra Puri also went there. A big stone was made into a throne and the deity was installed upon it. Another big stone was placed behind the deity for support. All the Brahman priests of the village gathered together with 9 water pots, and water from Govind Kund lake was brought there and filtered. When the deity was being installed, 900 pots of water were brought from Govind Kund. There were musical sounds of bugles and drums and the singing of women. During the festival, at the installation ceremony, some people sang and some danced. All the milk, yogurt and clarified butter in the village was brought to the festival. Various foods and sweetmeats as well as other kinds of presentations were brought there. I am unable to describe all these. The villagers brought a large quantity of tulsi leaves, flowers and various kinds of garments. Then Srila Madhavendra Puri personally began the Abhishek bathing ceremony. In the Hari Bhakti Vilas, it is stated that the deity should be bathed in water mixed with yogurt and milk, accompanied by sounds of conch shells, bells and other instruments and the chanting of mantra Om Bhagavate Vasudevaya Namaha, as well as chanting of the Brahm Samhita were beginning. After all inauspicious things were driven away by the chanting of mantra, the deity's bathing ceremony started. First, the deity was massaged with a large quantity of oil so that his body became very glossy. After the first bathing, further bathing were conducted with Panchagavya and then with Panchamrita. Then the Maha Snan was performed with ghee and water, which had been brought in 100 pots. The ingredients of Panchagavya are milk, yogurt, ghee, cow urine and cow dung. All these items come from the cow, therefore we can just imagine how important the cow is. Since its urine and stool are required for bathing the deity, the Panchamrita consists of 5 kinds of nectar: yogurt, milk, ghee, honey, and sugar. The major portion of this preparation also comes from the cow. To make it more palatable, sugar and honey are added. After the Mahasnana was finished, the deity was again massaged with scented oil and his body made glossy. Then the last bathing ceremony was performed with scented water kept within a conch shell. In his ceremony of on this occasion, Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur quotes from the Hari Bhakti Vilas: barley powder, wheat powder, vermilion powder, urad dal powder, and another powder preparation called avada, made by mixing banana powder and ground rice, are applied to the deity's body with a brush made from the hair at the end of cow's tail. This produces a nice finish. The oil spread from over the body of the deity should be scented. To perform the Mahasnana, at least 2.5 manas of water are needed to pour over the body of the deity. After the body of the deity was cleansed, he was dressed very nicely with new garments. Then sandalwood pulp, tulsi garlands, and other fragrant flower garlands were placed upon the body of the deity. After bathing ceremony was finished, incense and lamps were burned. All kinds of food offered before the deity. These foods included yogurt, milk, and as many sweetmeats as were received. The deity was first offered many varieties of food, then scented drinking water in new pots, and then water for washing the mouth. Finally, mixed with a variety of spices were offered. After the last offering of tambula and pan, Bhog Aarti was performed. Finally, everyone offered various prayers and their obeisances, falling flat before the deity in full surrender. As soon as the people of the village had understood that the deity was going to be stalled, they had brought their entire stocks of rice, dal, and wheat flour. They brought such large quantity that the entire surface of the top of the hill was filled. When the villagers brought their stock of rice, dal, and flour, the potters of the village brought all kinds of cooking pots, and in the morning the cooking began. 10 Brahmanas cooked the food grains, and the 5 Brahmans cooked both dry and liquid vegetables. The vegetable preparations were made from various kinds of spinach, roots, and fruits collected from the forest, and some had made bada and badi by mashing dal. In this way, the Brahman prepared all kinds of food. 5 to 7 men had prepared a huge quantity of chapati, which was sufficiently covered with ghee, as were all the vegetables, rice, and dal. All the cooked rice was stacked on a palasa leaves, which were on new clothes spread over the ground. Around the stack of cooked rice were stacks of chapatis, and all the vegetable and liquid vegetable preparations were placed in different pots and put around them. Pots of yogurt, milk, buttermilk, and shikharini, sweet rice, cream, and solid cream were placed alongside the vegetables. In this kind of ceremony, which is called Anakuta, cooked rice is stacked like a small mountain from prasadam distribution. In this way, the Anakuta ceremony was performed, and Shri Madhaven Puri Goswami personally offered everything to Gopala. Many water pots were filled with scented water for drinking, and Lord Shri Gopala, who had been hungry for many days, ate everything offered to him. Although Shri Gopala ate everything offered, still by touch of his transcendental hand, everything remained as before. The atheist cannot understand how the Supreme Personality of Godhead, appearing in the form of deity, can eat all the food offered by his devotee. In the Bhagavad Gita 9.26, Krishna says, "If one offer me with love and devotion a leaf, a flower, a fruit, or water, I will accept it." The Lord is Purna, complete, and therefore he eats everything offered by his devotees. However, by the touch of his transcendental hand, all the food remains exactly as before. It is the quality that is changed. Before the food was offered, it was something else. But after it is offered, the food acquires a transcendental quality. Because the Lord is Purna, he remained the same even after eating. The food offered to Krishna is qualitatively as good as Krishna. Just as Krishna is Abhaya, indestructible, the food eaten by Krishna being identical with him. remains as before. Apart from this, Krishna can eat the food with any one of his transcendental senses. He can eat by seeing the food or by touching it. Nor should one think that it is necessary for Krishna to eat. He does not become hungry like an ordinary human being. None thus he present being himself as being hungry. As such, he can eat everything and anything regardless of quantity. The philosophy of underlying Krishna's eating is understandable by our transcendental senses. When our senses are purified by constantly being engaged in the devotional service of the Lord, we can understand Krishna's activity, names, forms, qualities, and pastimes and entourage. No one can understand Krishna by the blunt material senses, but he reveals himself to the devotees, being pleased with them for their transcendental loving service into him. The devotees understand Krishna through revelation. It is not possible for a mundane scholar to understand Krishna and his pastime through research work on the non-devotional platform. How Gopala ate everything while the food remained the same was transcendently perceived by Madhavendra Puri Goswami. Nothing remains a secret to the devotees of the Lord. The wonderful festival and installation of Shri Gopalji was arranged in one day. Certainly all this was accomplished by the potency of Gopala. No one but a devotee can understand this. The Krishna consciousness movement has spread all over the world within a very short time, and mundane people are very astonished at this. However, by the grace of Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, we understand that everything is possible by the grace of Krishna. Why does Krishna have to take 5 years? In 5 days, he can spread his name and fame all over the world like wildfire. Those who have faith in and devotion to Krishna can understand that these things happen so wonderfully by the grace of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. We are simply the instruments. In the fierce battle of Kurukshetra, Arjuna was victorious within 18 days simply because Krishna's grace was on his side. Where there is a Krishna, the master of all mystics, and wherever there is Arjuna, the supreme archer, there will also certainly be opulence, victory, extraordinary power, and morality. That is my opinion. If the preachers in our Krishna conscious movement are sincere devotees of Krishna, Krishna will always be with them because he is very kind and favorable to all his devotees. Just as Arjuna and Krishna were victorious in the battle of Kurukshetra, this Krishna conscious movement will surely emerge victorious if we but remain sincere devotees of the Lord and serve the Lord according to the advice of predecessor the Six Goswami and the other devotees of the Lord, as Narottam Das Thakur has stated. The Krishna consciousness devotee must always desire to remain in the society of devotees. Bhakta Shana Vasa. They cannot go outside the Krishna consciousness society or movement. Within the society, we must try to serve the predecessor by preaching Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's cult and spreading his name and fame all over the world. If we attempt this seriously within the society, it will be successfully done. There is no question of estimating how this will happen in the mundane sense, but without a doubt it happened by the grace of Krishna. Shri Madhavendra Puri offered water to Gopala for washing his mouth, and he gave him betel nuts to chew. Then while Aarti was performed, all the people chanted Jaya Jaya, all gurus to Gopala. Arranging for the Lord's rest, Shri Madhavendra Puri brought a new cot, and over this he spread a new bed spread and thus made the bed ready. A temporary temple was constructed by covering the bed all around with a straw mattress. Thus there was a bed and a straw mattress to cover it. After the Lord was laid down to rest on the bed, Madhavendra Puri gathered all the Brahmins who had prepared the prasadam and said to them, "Now feed everyone sumptuously from the children on up to the age." All the people gathered there sat down to honor the prasadam, and by they took food. All the Brahmins and their wives were fed first. According to the Vana Ashram system, the Brahmins are always honored first. Thus at the festival, the Brahmins and their wives were first offered to the remnants of foods, and the others Kshatriya, Vaishyas and Shudras. This has always been the system, and it is still prevalent in India. Even though caste Brahmins are not qualified, the system is still current due to Varnashram institutional rules and regulations. Those who took prasadam, including not only the people who of Govardhan village, but also those who came from other villages. They also saw the deity of Gopala and were performed prasadam to eat. Seeing the influence of Madhavendra Puri, all the people gathered there were struck with wonder. They saw that the Annakuta ceremony, which had been performed before during the time of Krishna, was now taking place again by the mercy of Sri Madhavendra Puri. Formally, at the end of Dwapar Yuga, all the men of Vrindavan had arranged to worship King Indra, but they gave this ceremony up. Following the advice of Krishna, instead they performing a ceremony whereby they worship the cows, Brahmans, and Govardhan Hill. At that time, Krishna expanded himself and declared, I am Govardhan Hill. In this way, he accepted all the paraphernalia and food offered to Govardhan Hill. It is stated in the Srimad Bhagavatam, prepare very nice food, all descriptions from the grains and ghee collected from the yaga. Prepare rice, dal, then halwa, pakoda, puri, all kinds of milk preparations like sweet rice, sweet balls, sandesh, rasgulla, and laddu. The Supreme Personality of Godhead Krishna therefore advised the god man to stop the Indra Yaga and begin the Govardhan Puja to chastise Indra, who was very puffed up and being the supreme controller of the heavenly planets. The honest and simple god man headed by Nand Maharaj accepted Krishna's proposal and executed in detail everything he advised. They performed Govardhan worship and circumambulate of the hill. According to the instruction of Lord Krishna, Nand Maharaj and the god man call in learned Brahman and begin to worship Govardhan Hill by chanting Vedic hymns and offering prasadam. The inhabitants of Vrindavan assembled together, decorated their cows, and gave them grass. Keeping the cows in front, they began to circumambulate Govardhan Hill. All the Brahmans presented on that occasion were initiated by Sri Madhavendra Puri into the Vaishnava cult, and the Madhavendra Puri engaged them in different types of service. In the scriptures, it is stated a qualified Brahman must be expert in the occupational duties of the Brahman. His duties are mentioned as 6 Brahmanical engagements. Pratna means that the Brahman must be conversant with the Vedic scriptures. He must also be able to teach others to study the Vedic literature. This is Pratna. He must also be expert in worshipping different deities and performing the Vedic rituals. On account of this yaga, the Brahmans, being the head of society, performs all the Vedic rituals for Kshatriya, Vaishyas, and Shudras. This is called yaga, assisting others in performing ceremonies. The remaining 2 items are Dan and Pratigra. The Brahman accepted all kinds of contribution from his followers, namely the Kshatriya, Vaishyas, and Shudras. But he does not keep all the money. He keeps only as much as required and gives the balance to others in charity. In order for such a qualified Brahman to worship the deity, he must be a Vaishnava. Thus, the Vaishnava's position is superior to that of the Brahman. This example given by Madhavendra Puri confirms that even though a Brahman may be very expert, he cannot become a priest or servitor of the Vishnu Murti unless he is initiated in Vaishnava mantra. After installing the deity of Gopala, Madhavendra Puri initiated all the Brahmans into Vaishnavism. He then allotted the Brahmans different types of service to the deity. From 4 in the morning until 10 at night, from Mangala Aarti to Shayan Aarti, there must be at least 5 or 6 Brahmans to take care of the deity. 6 aartis are performed in the temple, and food is frequently offered to the deity and the prasadam distributed. This is method of worshipping the deity according to the rules and regulations set by the predecessors. Our Sampradaya belongs to the disciplic section of Madhavendra Puri, who belongs to the Madhva Sampradaya. We are in the disciplic succession of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, who was initiated by Sri Ishwar Puri, a disciple of Madhavendra Puri. Our Sampradaya is therefore called Madhva Gaudiya Sampradaya. As such, we must carefully follow in the footsteps of Sri Madhavendra Puri and observe how he installed the Gopala deity on top of Govardhan Hill, how he arranged and performed the Annakuta ceremony in only one day, and so forth. Our installation of deities in America and in the wealthy countries of Europe should be carried out in terms of Sri Madhavendra Puri's activities. All the servitors of the deity must be strictly qualified as Brahmas and specifically must engage in the Vaishnav custom of offering as much as prasadam as possible, distributing it to the devotees who visit the temple to see the Lord. After taking rest, the deity must be awakened at the end of the day, and immediately some foods and some water must be offered to him. When it was advertised throughout the country that Lord Gopala had appeared atop Govardhan Hill, all the people from neighborhood villages came to see the deity. One village after another was pleased to beg Madhavendra Puri to allot them one day to perform the Anakut ceremony. Then, day after day, the Anakut ceremony was performed for some time. Sri Madhavendra Puri did not eat anything throughout the day, but at night, after laying the deity down to rest, he took a milk preparation. The next morning, the rendering of service to the deity began again, and people from one village arrived with all kinds of food grains. The inhabitants of the village brought to the deity of Gopala as much food, grains, ghee, yogurt, and milk as they had in their village. Anna, Ghrata, Dadhi, and Dugdha are food grains, ghee, yogurt, and milk. Actually, these are the basic of all foods. Vegetables and fruits are subsidiary. Hundreds of thousands of preparation can be made out of grains, vegetables, ghee, milk, and yogurt. The food offered to Gopala in the Anakut ceremony contained only these five ingredients. Only demoniac people are attracted to other types of food, which we will not even mention in this connection. We should not understand that in order to prepare nutritious food, we require only grain, ghee, yogurt, and milk. We cannot offer anything else to the deity. The Vaishnava, the perfect human being, does not accept anything not offered to the deity. People are often frustrated with national food policies, but from the Vedic scriptures, we find that if there are sufficient cows and grains, the entire food problem is solved. The Vaishyas and other recommended in the Bhagavad Gita to produce grains and give protection to cows. Cows are the most important animal because they produce the miracle food, milk, from which we can prepare ghee and yogurt. The perfection of human civilization depends on Krishna consciousness, which recommends deity worship. Preparations made from vegetables, grains, milk, ghee, and yogurt are offered to the deity and then distributed. Here we can see the difference between the East and the West. The people who came to see the deity of Gopala brought all kinds of fruit to offer the deity. They brought all the foods they had in stock, and they came before the deity not only to accept prasadam for themselves, but to distribute it to others. The Krishna consciousness movement vigorously approves this practice of preparing food, offering it to the deity, and distributing it to general population. This activity should be extended universally to adopt sinful eating habits as well as other behavior befitting only to demons. A demonic civilization will never bring peace within the world. Since eating is the first necessity in human society, those engaged in solving the problems of preparing and distributing food should take lesson from Madhavendra Puri and executing the Annakuta ceremony. When the people take to eating only prasadam offered to the deity, all the demons will be turned into Vaishnavas. When the people are Krishna conscious, naturally the government will be also. A Krishna conscious man is always a very liberal well-wisher of everyone. When such man head the government, the people will certainly be sinless. They will no longer be disturbing demons. It is then and then only that a peaceful condition will prevail in society. The next day, almost as before, there was an Annakuta ceremony. All the Brahmanas prepared foods and Gopala accepted them. The ideal place to execute Krishna consciousness is Braj Bhumi or Vrindavan, where the people are naturally inclined to love Krishna and Krishna is naturally inclined to love them. In the Bhagavad Gita 4.11, it is said there is a responsive cooperation between the Supreme Lord Krishna and his devotees. The more a devotee sincerely loves Krishna, the more Krishna reciprocates, so much so that a highly advanced devotee can talk with Krishna face to face. Krishna confirms this in the Bhagavad Gita 10.10. To those who are constantly devoted to serving me with love, I give the understanding by which they can come to me. The actual mission of human life is to understand Krishna and return home, back to Godhead. Therefore, one who is sincerely engaged in the service of the Lord with love and faith can talk with Krishna and receive instructions by which he can speedily return home, back to Godhead. Today, many scholars defend the science of religion and they have some conception of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. But religion without practical experience of the Supreme Personality of Godhead is no religion at all. Srimad Bhagavatam describes this as a form of cheating. Religion means abiding by the orders of Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. If one is not qualified to talk with him and take lesson from him, how can one understand the principle of religion? Thus, talks of religion or religious experience without Krishna consciousness are a useless waste of time. Throngs of people came from different villages to see the deity of Gopala, and they took Mahaprasadam sumptuously. When they saw the super excellent form of Lord Gopala, all their lamentation and unhappiness disappeared. All the villages in neighboring Vrajbhumi became aware of the appearance of Gopala, and all the people from these villages came to see him. Day after day, they all performed the Annakota ceremony. In this way, not only the neighboring villages, but all the other provinces came to know of Gopala's appearance. Thus, people came from all over, bringing a variety of presentations. The people of Mathura, who were very big capitalists, also brought various presentations and offered them before the deity in devotion service. Thus, countless presentations of gold, silver, garments, scented articles, and eatables arrived. The store of Gopala increased daily. One very rich Kshatriya of the royal order constructed a temple, someone made cooking utensils, and someone constructed boundary walls. Each and every family residing in the land of Vrajbhumi contributing one cow. In this way, thousands of cows became the property of Gopala. This is the way to install the deity. Construct the temple, increase the property of the temple. Everyone should be enthusiastic to contribute to the construction of the temple for the deity. And everyone should also contribute food for the distribution of prasadam. The devotees should preach the gospel of devotion service and thus engage people in practical service to the deity. Wealthy people can also be attracted to take part in these activities. In this way, everyone will become spiritually inclined and the entire society will convert to Krishna consciousness. The desire to satisfy the material senses will automatically diminish and the senses will become so purified that they will be able to engage in bhakti. By serving the Lord, one's senses are gradually purified. There, the engagement of one's purified senses in the service of Lord Harikrishna is called bhakti. When the dormant propensity for bhakti is awakened, one can understand the Supreme Personality of Godhead as He is. This is a process of giving humanity the chance to awaken Krishna consciousness. Thus, people can perfect their life in all respect. Eventually, two Brahmins in the renounced order arrived from Bengal, and Madhven Puri, who liked them very much, kept them in Vrindavan and gave them all kind of confirms. These two were then initiated by Madhven Puri, and he entrusted them with the daily service of the Lord. This service was performed continuously, and the worship of the deity became very gorgeous. Thus, Madhven Puri was very pleased. The six Goswamis and their followers started many temples, such as the temples of Govinda, Gopinath, Madan Mohan, Radha Damodar, Shyam Sundar, Radha Raman, and Gokulanath. The disciples of the Goswami were entrusted with the Seva Puja of these temples. It was not that the disciples were family members of the original Goswamis. All the Goswamis were in the renounced order of life, and the Jeev Goswami in particular was a lifelong brahmachari. At present, Sevaitas assume the title of Goswami on the basis of their engage as the Sevaitas of the deity. The Sevaitas who have inherited their position now assume proprietorship of the temple, and some of them are selling the deity's property as if it were their own. However, the temples did not originally belong to these Sevaitas. In this way, the deity worship in the temple was very gorgeously performed for 2 years. Then one day Madhavendra Puri had a dream. In his dream, Madhavendra Puri saw Gopala, who said, "My bodily temperature still has not decreased. Please bring sandalwood from the Malaya province and spread the pulp over my body to cool me." The deity of Gopala had been buried within the jungle for many years, and although he was installed and was offered thousands of pots of water, he still very hot. He therefore asked Madhavendra Puri to bring sandalwood from the Malaya provinces. Sandalwood produces in Malaya is very popular. That province is situated on the western Ghats, and the hill Nilagiri is sometimes known as Malaya Hill. The word Malaya Ja is used to indicate the sandalwood producers in Malaya provinces. Sometimes the word Malaya refers to modern country of Malaysia. Formerly this country also produced sandalwood, but now they have found it profitable to produce rubber trees. Although the Vedic culture was once prevalent in Malaysia, now all the inhabitants are Muslims. The Vedic culture is now lost in Malaysia, Java and Indonesia. Bring sandalwood pulp from Jagannath Puri. Kindly go quickly. Since no one else can do it, you must. After having this dream, Madhavendra Puri Goswami became very glad due to ecstasy of love of Godhead. In order to execute the command of the Lord, he started east toward Bengal. Before leaving, Madhavendra Puri made all arrangements for regularly deity worship, and he engaged different people in various duties. Then, taking up the order of Gopala, he started for Bengal. When Madhavendra Puri arrived at the house of Advaita Acharya in Shantipur, the Acharya became very pleased upon seeing the ecstatic love of Godhead manifest in Madhavendra Puri. Advaita Acharya begged to be initiated by Madhavendra Puri. After initiating him, Madhavendra Puri started for South India. In this connection, Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur comments on Advaita Acharya's initiation by Madhavendra Puri, who was a sannyasi in the disciplic succession of Madhva Sampradaya. According to Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, a person may be a Brahmana, a sannyasi, a Shudra or whatever, but he is well conversant in the science of Krishna. He can become a Guru. This statement is supported by Sri Madhavendra Puri. According to Pancharadhara injection, only a householder Brahmana can initiate. Others cannot. When a person is initiated, it is assumed that he can become a Brahmana. Without being initiated by a proper Brahmana, one cannot convert him into a Brahmana. In other words, unless one is Brahman, he cannot make another a Brahman. A Grasta Brahmana partaking of the Vanashram Dharma institution can secure various types of paraphernalia to worship Lord Vishnu through his honest labor. Actually, people beg to be initiated by this household Lord Brahmans just to become successful in the Vanashram institution or to become free from material desires. It is therefore necessary for a spiritual master in the Grasta ashram to be a strict Vaishnava. A spiritual master from the sannyas order has very little opportunity to become Archana, deity worship, but when one accepts a spiritual master from the transcendental sannyasis, the principle of deity worship is not at all neglected. To implement this conclusion, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu gave up his opinion in the verse Kiva Vipra, Kiva Sannyasi, etc. This indicates that the Lord understood the weakness of society in its maintaining that only Grasta Brahmana should be a spiritual master. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu indicated that it does not matter whether the spiritual master is a Grasta, a Sannyasi or even a Shudra. A spiritual master simply must be conversant in the essence of the Shastra. He must understand the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Only then can one become a spiritual master. Diksha actually means initiating a disciple with transcendental knowledge by which he becomes free from all material contamination. Going into South India, Sri Madhavendra Puri visited Remuna, where Gopinath is situated. Upon seeing the beauty of the deity, Madhavendra Puri was overwhelmed. In the corridor of the temple, from which people generally viewed the deity, Madhavendra Puri chanted and danced. Then he sat down there and asked the Brahmana what kind of foods they offered to deity. From the excellence of the arrangements, Madhavendra Puri understood by deduction that only the best food was offered. Madhavendra Puri thought, I shall inquire from the priest what foods are offered to Gopinath, so that by making arrangements in our kitchen we can offer similar foods to Shri Gopala. When the Brahmana priest was questioned about this matter, he explained in detail what kinds of foods were offered to the deity of Gopinath. The Brahman priest said, in the evening of the deity is offered sweet rice in 12 earthen pots because the taste is as good as nectar. It is named Amrit Keli. This sweet rice is celebrated throughout the world as Gopinath Kheer. It is not offered anywhere else in the world. While Madhavendra Puri was talking with the Brahman priest, the sweet rice was placed before the deity as an offering. Hearing this, Madhavendra Puri thought as follows: If without my asking, a little rice is given to me, I can then taste it and make a similar preparation to offer my Lord Gopala. Madhavendra Puri became greatly ashamed when he desired to taste the sweet rice, and he immediately began to think of Lord Vishnu. While he was thus asking of Lord Vishnu, the offering was completed and the Aarti ceremony began. After the Aarti was finished, Madhavendra Puri offered his obeisances to the deity and then left the temple. He did not say anything more to anyone. Shri Madhavendra Puri avoided begging. He was completely unattached and indifferent to material things. If without his begging, someone offered him some food, he would eat. Otherwise, he would fast. This is Paramansa stage, the highest stage of sannyasi. A sannyasi can beg from door to door just to collect food, but a Paramahansa who has taken Ayachitta Vritti does not ask anyone for food. If someone offered him food voluntarily, he eats. Ayachitta Vritti means being accustomed to refrain from begging, and Ajagra Vritti indicates one who is compared to a python. The big snake that makes no effort to acquire food but rather allows food to come automatically within its mouth. In other words, a Paramahansa simply engages exclusively in the service of Lord without caring even for eating or sleeping. It was stated about the six Goswami. In the Paramahansa state, one conquers the desire for sleep, food, and sense gratification. One remains a humble, meek pedicants engaged in the service of Lord day and night. Madhavendra Puri had attained this Paramahansa state. A Paramahansa like Madhavendra Puri is always satisfied in the loving service of the Lord. Material hunger and thirst cannot impede his activities. When he desired to taste a little sweet rice offered to the deity, he considered that he had committed an offense by desiring to eat what was being offered to the deity. It is advisable that food being offered to the deity be covered when taken from the kitchen to the deity room. In that way, others may not see it. Those who are not accustomed to following the advanced devotional principles may desire to eat the food, and this is an offense. Therefore, no one should be given a chance to even see it. However, when it is brought before the deity, it must be uncovered. Seeing the food uncovered before the deity, Madhavendra Puri desired to taste a little of it so that he could prepare a similar sweet rice for his Gopala. Madhavendra Puri was so strict, however, that he considered this is to be an offense. Consequently, he left the temple without saying anything to anyone. The Paramahansa is therefore called Vijayita Sadguna. He must conquer the six material qualities: Kam, Krodha, Lobha, Moh, Manmasarya, and Shuddha Trishna. Madhavendra Puri left the temple and sat down in the village marketplace, which was vacant. Sitting there, he began to chant. In the meantime, the temple priest laid the deity down to rest. Although Madhavendra Puri was not interested in eating, sleeping, his interest in chanting the Mahamantra was an acute, as if he were an aspiring transcendentalist rather than a Paramahansa. This means that even in Paramahansa state, one cannot give up chanting. Haridas Thakur and the Goswamis were all engaged in chanting a fixed number of rounds. Therefore, chanting on beats is very important for everyone. Even though one may become a Paramahansa, this chanting can be executed anywhere, either inside or outside the temple. Madhavendra Puri even sat down in a vacant marketplace to perform his chanting. As stated by Srinivas Acharya in his prayers to the Goswami Nam Gana Nati Bhi, a Paramahansa devotee is always engaged in chanting and rendering loving service to the Lord. Chanting the Lord's holy name and engaging in his service are identical. As stated in Srimad Bhagavatam, there are 9 kinds of devotional service: hearing, chanting, remembering, serving, worshipping the Lord, praying, carrying out orders, serving him as a friend and sacrificing everything for the Lord. Although each process appears distinct when one is situated on the absolute platform, he can see that they are identical. For instance, hearing is as good as chanting, and remembering is as good as chanting or hearing. Similarly, engaging in deity worship is as good as chanting, hearing, or remembering. The devotee is expected to accept all 9 processes of devotional service, but even if only one process is properly executed, he can still attain the highest position and go back to God. Finishing his daily duties, the priest went to take rest. In a dream, he saw the Gopinath deity come to talk to him, and he spoke as follows. O priest, please get up and open a door of the temple. I have kept one pot of sweet rice for Sannyasi Madhavendra Puri. This pot of sweet rice is just behind my cloth curtain. You did not see it because my tricks. A sannyasi named Madhavendra Puri is sitting in the vacant marketplace. Please take this pot of sweet rice from behind me and deliver to him. Awaking from the dream, the priest immediately rose from bed, and though it wise to take a bath before entering the deity's room, he then opened the temple door. According to the deity's direction, the priest found the pot of sweet rice behind the cloth curtain. He removed the pot and mopped up the place where he had been kept. He then went out of the temple. Closing the door of the temple, he went to the village with the pot of sweet rice. He called out in every stall in search of Madhavendra Puri. Holding the pot of sweet rice, the priest called, "Will he whose name is Madhavendra Puri please come and take this pot? Gopinath has stolen this pot of sweet rice for you." The difference between the absolute truth and relative truth is explained here. Lord Gopinath had openly declared herein that he is a thief. He had stolen the pot of sweet rice, and this was not kept a secret because his act of stealing is a source of great transcendental bliss. In the material world, theft is criminal, but in the spiritual world, the Lord's stealing is a source of transcendental bliss. Mundane rascals who cannot understand the absolute nature of personality of Godhead sometimes call Lord Krishna immoral, but they do not know that his seemingly immoral activities, which are not kept secret, afford pleasure to the devotees. Not understanding the transcendental behavior of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, these rascals slur his character and immediately fall into the category of miscreants. Rascals, lowest among men, demons, and those whose knowledge is taken away by the illusory energy, Krishna expresses Bhagavad Gita 7.50. Those miscreants who are grossly foolish and who are lowest among mankind, whose knowledge is stolen by illusion, and who partake of the atheistic nature of demons, do not surrender unto me. Mundane rascal cannot understand that whatever Krishna does, being absolutely in nature, in all good. This quality of the Lord is explained in Srimad Bhagavatam. One may consider certainly acts of supremely powerful person to be immoral by mundane calculation, but this is not actually the case. For example, the sun absorbs water from the surface of the earth, but it does not absorb water only from the sea. It also absorbs water from filthy rivers and ditches and containing urine and other impure substances. The sun is not polluted by absorbing such water. Rather, the sun makes filthy place pure. If a devotee approaches the Supreme Personality of Godhead for immoral or improper purpose, he nonetheless became purified. The Lord does not become infected. In Srimad Bhagavatam, it is stated that if one approaches the Supreme Lord even out of lust, anger, or fear, he is purified. The gopis, being young girls, approaches Krishna because he was a beautiful young boy. From the external point of view, they approached the Lord out of lust, and the Lord danced with them at midnight. From the mundane point of view, these activities may appear immoral because a married or unmarried young girl cannot leave home to mix with a young boy and dance with him. Although this is immoral from the mundane viewpoint, the activities of the gopis are accepted as the highest form of worship because it was Lord Krishna whom they approached with lusty desire in the dead of night. But these things cannot be understood by non-devotees. One must understand Krishna in Tattva. One should use his common sense and consider that if simply by chanting Krishna's holy name one is purified, how then can the person Krishna be immoral? Unfortunately, mundane fools are accepted as educational leaders and are offered exalted posts for teaching irreligiously principles to the general populace. This is explained in Srimad Bhagavatam. Blind men are trying to lead other blind men. Due to the immature understanding of such rascals, common men should not discuss Krishna's pastime with the gopis. A non-devotee should not even discuss his taking sweet rice from his devotees. It is warned that one should not even think about these things. Although Krishna is the purest of the pure, mundane people, thinking of Krishna's pastime that appear immoral, themselves became polluted. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu therefore never publicly discussed Krishna's dealing with the gopis. He used to discuss these dealings only with three confidential friends. He never discussed Ras Leela publicly as a professional reciters do, although they do not understand Krishna or the nature of the audience. However, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu encouraged the public chanting of the holy name on a huge scale for as many hours as possible. The priest continued, "Would the sannyasi whose name is Madhavind Puri please come and take this pot of rice and enjoy the prasadam with great happiness? You are the most fortunate person within these three worlds." Here is an example of a person benediction by Krishna's immoral activity. By Gopinath's stealing for his devotee, the devotee became the most fortunate person within the three worlds. Thus, even the Lord's criminal activities make his devotee of the most fortunate person. How can a mundane rascal understand the pastimes of Krishna and judge whether he is moral or immoral? Since Krishna is the absolute truth, there were no mundane distinction, such as moral and immoral. Whatever he does is good. This is the real meaning of good. God is good. He is good in all circumstances because he is transcendental, outside the jurisdiction of this material world. Therefore, Krishna can be understood only by those who are already living in the spiritual world. This is corroborated in the Bhagavad Gita. One who engages in full devotional service, unfailing in all circumstances, at once transcends the modes of material nature and thus comes to the level of Brahman. One who is engaged in unalloyed devotional service to the Lord is already situated in the spiritual world. In all circumstances, his activities and dealings with Krishna are transcendental and thus not understandable by mundane moralists. It is therefore better not to discuss such activities among mundane people. It is better to give them the Hare Krishna Mahamantra so that they will be gradually purified and then come to understand the transcendental activities of Krishna. Hearing this invitation, Madhavind Puri come out and identified himself. The priest then delivered the pot of sweet rice and offered his obeisances, falling flat from him. A Brahmana is not supposed to offer his obeisances by falling flat before anyone because a Brahman is considered to be in the highest caste. However, when a Brahmana sees a devotee, he offers his dandavatas. This Brahmana priest did not ask Madhavind Puri whether he was a Brahman, but when he saw that Madhavind Puri was such a modified devotee that Krishna would even steal from him, he immediately understood the position of the saint. As stated by Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he had the Brahmana priest been an ordinary Brahman, Gopinath would not have talked with him in a dream. Since the deity spoke to both Madhavind and the Brahmana priest in dreams, practically speaking, they were on the same platform. However, because Madhavind Puri was a senior sannyasi Vaishnava, a Paramahansa, the priest immediately fell flat before him and offered obeisances. When the story about the pot of rice was explained to him in detail, Sri Madhavind Puri at once became absorbed in ecstatic love of Krishna. Upon seeing the ecstatic love symptoms manifested in Srila Madhavendra Puri, the priest was struck with wonder. He couldn't understand why Krishna had become so much obliged to him, and he saw that Krishna's acting was befitting. A devotee can bring Krishna perfectly under his control. This is explained in Srimad Bhagavatam. Krishna is never conquered by anyone, but a devotee can conquer him through devotional service. As stated in Brahma Samhita, one cannot understand Krishna simply by reading Vedic literature. Although all Vedic literature is meant for understanding Krishna, one cannot understand Krishna without being a lover of Krishna. Therefore, along with the reading of Vedic literature, one must engage in devotional service of the transcendental understanding of devotional service. Love of God is dormant within everyone's heart, and if one simply follows the standard process of devotional service, it is awakened. But foolish, mundane people who simply read about Krishna mistakenly think that he is immoral or criminal. The priest offered his obeisances to Madhavan Puri and returned to the temple. Then, in ecstasy, Madhavan Puri ate the sweet rice offered to him by Krishna. After this, Madhavendra Puri washed the pot and broke it into pieces. He then brought all the pieces in his outer cloth and kept them nicely. Each day, Madhavendra Puri would eat one piece of that earthen pot, and after eating it, he would immediately be overwhelmed with ecstasy. These are wonderful stories. Having broken the pot and bound the pieces in his cloth, Madhavendra Puri began to think, "The Lord has given me a pot of a sweet rice, and then when the people hear of this tomorrow morning, there will be great crowds." Thinking this, Sri Madhavendra Puri offered his obeisances to Gopinath on the spot and left Ramuna before morning. Walking and walking, Madhavendra Puri finally reached Jagannath Puri, which is also known as Nilachal. There he saw Lord Jagannath and was overwhelmed with love in ecstasy. When Madhavendra Puri was overwhelmed in the ecstasy of love of God, he sometimes stood up and sometimes fell to the ground. Sometimes he laughed and danced and sang. In this way, he enjoyed transcendental bliss by seeing the Jagannath deity. When Madhavendra Puri came to the Jagannath Puri, people were aware of his transcendental reputation. Therefore, crowds of people came and offered him all sorts of respect and devotion. Even though one may not